Poor People's Campaign mobilizing low-income voters in Georgia ahead of Senate runoff. Indigenous people push back against U.S. Thanksgiving mythology. China claims to ease up on Islamic worship in East Turkestan, but Uyghurs aren't buying it. Anwar Ibrahim sworn in as Malaysia's Prime Minister. Criticism of Qatar excessive, says French football chief. OIC Halal Expo in Istanbul hosts international cook-off competition. From Washington, D.C., this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Hena Zuberi. Our top story tonight. Economic justice advocates in Georgia are mobilizing ahead of next month's U.S. Senate runoff election. They're seeking to convince millions of low-income voters who lack access to health care and living wages to back Democratic Senator Reverend Raphael Warnock. The Georgia Poor People's Campaign announced on Wednesday it's seeking a statewide canvassing and text banking and social media campaign. Co-chair Reverend Dr. William Barber II will kick off the campaign on a Sunday worship service at a church in Columbus. It will be followed by a rally Monday on another church in Atlanta. Georgia voters are scheduled to head to the polls December 6th for a runoff election between Warnock and Republican Herschel Walker, a former professional football player. Walker has helped spread conspiracy theories about the 2020 election. Republican proposals such as cutting Social Security and Medicare particularly would harm low-income voters, advocates say. Al-Razak Faith Farming Family is a story of discovery about 3 Black and Muslim families struggling with 21st century farming in the United States. It describes how the promise of 40 acres and a mule for freed slaves never materialized after the end of slavery. It also touches on the disappearance of Black farmers and the lack of generational farming in the United States. The documentary will be directed by Rufus Triplett for Dawah International Multimedia. Rufus and Jenny Triplett are the film's executive producers. Atlanta-based Dawah International Multimedia has produced podcasts, books, TV, and radio shows, as well as social justice projects domestically and internationally. This will be the company's first documentary production. The United American Indians of New England and allies gathered at noon on Thursday at Coles Hill in Plymouth, Massachusetts. This was for the 53rd National Day of Mourning. The annual tradition serves as a day of remembrance and spiritual connection. It's also a protest against the racism and oppression Indigenous people continue to experience globally. Keisha James, a member of the Wampanoag tribe of Gayhead, who is also Oglala Lakota, said Indigenous people object to the prevalent Thanksgiving mythology. James, whose grandfather founded the National Day of Mourning in 1970, challenged the lies of mythmakers and history books that erase the genocide of Indigenous communities. She highlighted how Indigenous peoples' lands were stolen and their cultures and traditions destroyed, leading many into slavery, starvation, and never-ending oppression. The city of Troy, Michigan, and CARE have reached a resolution in a lengthy legal battle over a mosque. Troy Mayor Ethan Baker said the settlement is not an admission of liability. However, it clarifies that the property in dispute can be used for religious purposes. The full terms of the settlement are confidential, but it includes an undisclosed award of monetary damages. The first Jamia Mosque of Troy is just one of the many varied locations for the diverse community members to worship, he added. Amy V. Duclor, staff attorney at the CARE's Michigan chapter, said that the Adams Community Center is pleased to have this lawsuit behind them. Center leaders are looking forward to having a permanent location in the city, she said. The mosque offers religious and educational services, community outreach, and interfaith activities. French Football Federation President Noël Le Graët defended Qatar, saying that there has been an excessive campaign against the 2022 World Cup host nation. Le Graët's comments mirror FIFA President Gianni Infantino's sentiment requesting participating countries to focus on the football. Le Graët said Qatar and France have a strong economic partnership. Qatar won its bid to host the global football tournament in 2010. It has since faced a barrage of criticism on the rights of workers, the LGBTQ community, and other issues. But many experts have accused the West of hypocrisy in how Qatar has been targeted. The country has faced racist stereotyping, including in a recent French cartoon. On Thursday, the UN Human Rights Council voted to establish an independent fact-finding mission to investigate alleged human rights violations in Iran tied to recent protests. The Council adopted the resolution put forward by Germany and Iceland with 25 votes in favor, 6 against, and 16 abstentions. It called on Iran to end discrimination and violence against women and girls in public and private life, and in law, and in practice, and to uphold all human rights. That includes the right to freedom of opinion, expression, peaceful assembly, association, and religion or belief. Argentina, France, Gabon, Libya, and the UK, the US, and Ukraine were among the nations that supported the resolution. Armenia, China, Cuba, Eritrea, Pakistan, and Venezuela were among those that voted against it. UN Human Rights Chief Volker Turk called what's happening in Iran a very serious human rights crisis. Turk said the protest movement that began September 16th is particularly driven by women, girls, and young people. The fact-finding mission will present an update to the Council at its 53rd session. Anwar Ibrahim sworn in as Malaysia's Prime Minister. Details after the break. Stay tuned and we'll be right back after these messages.
A free 3-minute online chat can give you the personalized tips you need to start boosting your retirement savings today.
I am what hunger looks like in America.
Despite the development of a COVID-19 vaccine, millions around the world will not have access. We need a vaccine that's free and available to everyone, everywhere. It's time for a people's vaccine.
If I could be you, and you could be me for just 1 hour. If we could find a way to get inside each other's minds. Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes. Well, before you abuse, criticize, and accuse. Walk a mile in my shoes.
There are 16 million children struggling with hunger in America. That's 1 in 5 daughters, sons, neighbors, and classmates who don't know where their next meal is coming from. Yet billions of pounds of good food go to waste every year. It's time we do something about it. Feeding America is a nationwide network of food banks that helps provide meals to millions of kids and families in need. Visit feedingamerica.org to help them feed even more. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
We are Justice for All. Headquartered in the heart of downtown Chicago, Justice for All is a global humanitarian initiative dedicated to raising awareness for human rights concerns impacting vulnerable minority groups. Our diverse team of staff and volunteers, led by Imam Malik Mujahid, work tirelessly to help Justice for All achieve their goals. We promote policies that protect religious freedom, address the root causes of mass displacement, and recognize the plight of refugees and forced migrants. Together, we can continue to stand up for justice. Justice for all.
To stop this genocide, we need your help.
Welcome back. Longtime Malaysian statesman Anwar Ibrahim has been sworn in as the country's new prime minister. The former deputy prime minister has been an opposition leader for 2 years. 2 decades. Voiceover redo. The former deputy prime minister has been an opposition leader for 2 decades. In his first press conference after taking oath of office, Ibrahim said he would not draw a salary. He said his government would guarantee and safeguard the rights of all Malaysians, especially the marginalized and impoverished, regardless of race or religion. Malaysia's population is majority ethnic Malay Muslims, and Islam is the official religion. However, ethnic Chinese and Indians are a significant minority who also supported Ibrahim. Ibrahim rose to prominence as a Muslim youth leader by standing up for homeless Malaysians whose shanty homes were demolished. His opposition alliance includes Malay and Islamic groups. The Pakistani military on Thursday condemned a senior Indian Army official's threat to attack Pakistan-administered Kashmir. The Pakistani Army's media wing issued a statement in response to comments made by Army Commander Lieutenant General Upinder Dwivedi. Dwivedi said Tuesday the Indian Army is ready to execute orders to take Pakistan-administered Kashmir. His threat echoed Indian Defense Minister Rajnath Singh's threat from last month. The Pakistani Army's media wing called Dwivedi's statement unwarranted and an apt manifestation of Indian Armed Forces' delusional mindset. Chefs and amateur cooks from dozens of countries are competing in the 8th World Halal Summit and 9th Organization of Islamic Cooperation Halal Expo. The summit and expo began Thursday in Istanbul. They aim to further expand the rapidly growing global market for halal products. The events are expected to draw roughly 40,000 attendees, including around 9,000 visitors from across the world. About 90 young chefs exhibited their skills in different categories of the areas of food and pastry during the first day of the cookery competition. The competition is organized by the All Chefs and Pastry Cooks Confederation. Chefs from nearly 40 countries will compete in the 4-day competition. Berkshire's first mosque is one of the 2 in the British county up for awards. The Maidenhead Mosque, an Islamic center established in 1983, has been shortlisted for the British Beacon Mosque Award 2022. Faith Associates, which organizes the award, said that the mosque has been selected due to its work in the community. It has evolved to become a focal point for Muslims of the area, providing vital services and assistance, organizers said. The mosque is in the running for the Best Run Mosque Award. The award identifies mosque leaders who have shown outstanding qualities in leadership and management. The award ceremony will be held Saturday in London. Chinese authorities are urging Uyghurs to return to mosques to counter accusations of repression. Most Uyghurs in East Turkestan, what the Chinese government calls Xinjiang, have not returned to mosques. This was after authorities reopened some of them for limited religious services in response to heavy international criticism. China has been chastised for its repressive policies targeting the mostly Muslim ethnic group, sources inside and outside the country say. Authorities in the northwestern region began scaling back their crackdown on religion in early 2020 by reopening some mosques shut down since 2017. The change in policy comes after the US and some Western parliaments declared China's repression of Uyghurs as genocide and crimes against humanity. In late August, the UN Human Rights Chief issued a report on the accusations and concluded the repression may constitute international crimes. Coming up next after the break is our in-depth analysis segment with Rizwangul Nurmuhammad from Justice for All. So stay tuned and we'll be right back after these messages.
A free 3-minute online chat can give you the personalized tips you need to start boosting your retirement savings today.
If I could be you, and you could be me for just 1 hour. If we could find a way to get inside each other's minds. If you could see you through my eyes instead of your ego. I believe you'd be surprised to see that you've been blind. Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes. Yeah, before you abuse, criticize and accuse. Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes. Well, before you abuse, criticize and accuse. Walk a mile in my shoes.
Dad, they took over my bedroom. Come on, come on. Okay, Dad. 1, 2, 3.
Are you okay?
I'm fine, dear.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
To stop this genocide, we need your help.
Welcome back. China appears to be easing its restrictions on Islamic worship. To discuss this and more, we have with us Rizwangul Nurmuhammad, an Uyghur activist and part of the Save Uyghur team at Justice for All. Thank you so much for being with us here.
Thank you for having me.
So, Rizwangul, we've been reading that China is easing up some of its restrictions on mosques in major cities in East Turkestan, otherwise known as Xinjiang. Can you share with us what you've been hearing?
What we are hearing now is that Chinese authorities is asking some Uyghurs to go back to mosques and pray over there on Fridays. And we're also hearing that those people who are requested to go to the mosques are Uyghurs that are over 65 years old, those who are receiving pensions from government.
What are some of the major cities where these mosques are opening up, and what sort of quality of worship, what is allowed, what isn't allowed? Can you share some further details on that?
We have very limited information on this. We can't really name how many cities are allowed to now for opening up the religious practice in East Turkestan. Currently, we have information about Korla city that recently a news report saying that a specific village, for example, the Karyagaj village in Korla, is allowed the residents to come and pray at the mosque only on Fridays.
Now, as you said, 65 yen plus only elders are allowed to go into the mosques. Now, what we're also hearing is that Uyghur imams are not available to be leading some of the Friday prayers. And so Chinese Hui Muslim imams have been brought in, or those who are living there have been brought in, and they're giving khutbahs in the Uyghur language. Can you comment on that?
Because there is no Uyghur imams left. We know that Uyghur imams have been detained and sentenced to prisons. And we know that, for example, our prominent religious scholar, Muhammad Saleh, was detained and he was passed away in the prison. And last year, the Uyghur Human Rights Project, in partnership with Justice for All, released a report which recorded that since 2014, 1,046 Uyghur imams have been detained for their association with religious teaching, religious practice, and community leadership. So there is no Uyghur imams left to be the imam at the mosques, even if the Chinese authorities are opening up now. And regarding the Hui Muslim imam, and what we are hearing is that the Hui Imam was presenting the khutbah in very, very broken Uyghur language. And those elderly Uyghurs who are arranged by the Chinese authorities to come and listen at the mosque, they couldn't understand. And because of the pronunciation, some of the words in khutbah was mispronounced and even could cause a laugh, but the Uyghur elderly people, they couldn't laugh because they could be punished. So that is the situation. It is just staging. The Chinese authorities again and again deceiving the international community that, yes, we are opening up the mosques and no Uyghurs are coming, but actually, where are the Uyghurs? They are in prisons, they are in detention centers. We also know that Uyghurs have been accused of religious practices, extremism, under the banner of extremism. They have been detained. We have numerous reports saying that, reports showing that Uyghurs are simply detained for Islamic practices, like, for example, keeping a Quran at home. For example, Hasiat Ahmad, a 57-year-old Uyghur woman, she was arrested middle of the night and sentenced for 14 years in prison for giving Islamic education for children. And this kind of accusations and imprisonment has put the fear and insecurity in Uyghurs. And there is another reason that why Uyghurs are afraid to come back to mosques is that China has a look-back policy. If we read the Xinjiang policy, what is that called? Xinjiang policy file, it has reported that Uyghurs who are sentenced, some Uyghurs are sentenced to years of in prison because they have done such and such years back. For example, one father was detained and imprisoned just because he advised his son to not drink and not smoke years back. And some people, they also sentenced to prison because they wore hijab, like scarf, Uyghur sisters, years back, or advised someone to wear scarf. So the fear is still there. And Chinese government, they can again persecute anyone with whatever reasons they would like to find and accuse a person of.
This is very similar to what happened to students who were allowed to travel overseas in 2015, 2016. And when they returned back after being allowed by the Chinese government to go to different countries like Egypt and Turkey to study, and when they came back, that was used as an excuse to imprison them and detain them in concentration camps, because at the time when restrictions are lifted and you do go ahead and use your rights and exercise your rights, those rights are then used against you when restrictions are placed back down. So it really makes sense why the Uyghur community in East Turkestan is not buying China's facade currently that it's being. But why do you think at this time, is the Chinese government acting out and saying we're lifting these restrictions?
Again, China is deceiving the world. It's not only like, China is just opening up the mosques because of the international pressure. I don't think Chinese authorities really care about the international pressure in many aspects. But I think what China is trying to do is that keep maintaining and persuading the Muslim countries, especially. Recently, we know that 50 countries, majority of them are Muslim countries, they signed a letter actually supporting China. And China is showing them that, hey, we are okay. We are allowing the religious practices. Maybe byproduct of it is also showing the Western countries who are understanding human rights violations in East Turkestan and supporting the Uyghur voices. And China may be also in this way also trying to tell them that, hey, you are wrongly accusing me. But no, the intention of Chinese authorities is deceiving the world, and Uyghurs are not going to buy it.
Rizwangul, I wanted to talk to you about the mental health of Uyghurs, especially those living in East Turkestan under the Communist Party's repressive regime. As you have mentioned, this cat and mouse game that they play, where they will loosen up the restrictions and then tighten them up. And when the web gets tightened, people get taken away and are facing the most horrific genocide. We must not forget that there's an active genocide taking place currently. Your own brother, for example, right now is in detainment. And so if this was your local mosque and these were your family members, what would be some of the, I cannot imagine the circumstances that they're going through and the impact that it must be having on their mental health.
Yes, you mentioned about my brother's case. Yes, he was actually, he was able to get his passport when the restrictions around getting passport was loosened up. So many Uyghurs, of course, including my brother, he got his passport, and there was encouragement to actually go to Turkey to study or work and do business. And my brother went there, but when he came back, after 2 years, actually, when he came back in 2016, and he was arrested in January 2017. just because he went to Turkey. Turkey is one of the 26 countries, like sensitive countries on the Chinese list. So whoever visits those countries, they have been taken by the Chinese authorities. So you are very right saying that, you know, they're losing up and then again restricting and then taking people away. Exactly. My brother was the victim of that policy of the Chinese authorities. And regarding the mental health, I really can't imagine like what kind of hardship like our Uyghur brothers and sisters are experiencing in East Turkestan. They already like at the age of the mental health, I would say, because, you know, they don't allow to express their like the thoughts, like grief, anything. Like that Quran has been taken, confiscated from every family, and they are not allowed to pray. They are not allowed to even practice like burial rituals, or they are not allowed to make a nikah, you know, if they get married, and that the Uyghur women are forced to marry a non-Muslim Han Chinese. There are a lot of things going on to make people like mentally sick. And there is no support for them to overcome these mental health issues. And I really wish and I pray that, you know, Uyghur Muslim and brothers and sisters, they keep their iman strong. I don't know how they can do that, because they don't even allow to make dhikr or pray at home, even on their own, because we know that Chinese authorities have placed Chinese cadres to monitor every single of their actions and words they speak at their own homes. So I really can't say that, I can't really imagine how difficult the situation back in East Turkestan. And compared to that, like even in diaspora, we are also suffering. We are in the free land. We have the rights of free speech, everything, but still we are impacted by this genocide, and the impact has been manifested itself in our mental health issues. I have spoken to many Uyghur sisters, even brothers in diaspora. And they already reached a point where they think about this grief and the loss and the sadness. Actually, they get whole body pain. It's already past the point where they're only suffering mentally, like thinking and feeling sad. No, their physical body is also suffering. So Uyghurs, anywhere you talk to them, they're suffering. Mental health is a big barrier now, big issue now in Uyghurs, both in East Turkestan and diaspora. And the Uyghur organizations have been trying to organize mental health workshops to take care of these Uyghur members of the Uyghur community, but it is hard.
Makes perfect sense. Thank you so much for your time, Rizwangul, and for your activism.
Thank you for giving opportunity to voice Uyghurs. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rizwangul, for all your work and activism. That's all from our Washington studios tonight. Thank you for tuning in. You can find previous episodes and more on our YouTube or Facebook. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV or visit muslimnetwork.tv. Assalamu alaikum and good night.